Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by saying this straight. If you feel lost right now, you're not broken. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're exactly where growth begins. Feeling lost is not a weakness. It's awareness. And awareness is powerful. So many of you walk around thinking, everyone else has it figured out except me. That's a lie. Most people are guessing. The difference is some people move while they guess and others freeze. If you're lost, it simply means the old version of you no longer fits the life you're trying to build. That's not scary, that's progress. You're waiting for clarity. You're waiting for confidence. You're waiting for the perfect plan. Let me tell you something hard but honest. Clarity comes after action, not before it. Confidence is built by doing, not by thinking. You don't find yourself by sitting still. You find yourself by moving, testing, failing, adjusting, and repeating. You try something, it doesn't work. Good. Now, you know one direction that's not yours. You try again, you learn, you grow. That's the process. Feeling lost just means you're in the middle of becoming something new. Feeling lost is not failure, it's feedback. And that distinction changes everything. Most people label confusion, doubt, or uncertainty as a sign that something is wrong with them. They panic, they shrink, they start believing they've made all the wrong choices. But in reality, feeling lost is often the clearest signal that growth is happening. It means your mind is questioning patterns that no longer serve you. It means the life you're living doesn't fully align with who you're becoming. That tension is not a breakdown, it's information. When something isn't working in your life, your career, relationships, routine, or mindset, you feel discomfort. That discomfort is feedback. Just like pain in the gym tells you a muscle is being challenged, feeling lost tells you your current direction needs adjustment. The problem is not the feeling itself. The problem is how people react to it. Instead of listening, they suppress it. They distract themselves, they blame circumstances, they numb the signal instead of decoding it. Feedback doesn't mean you failed, it means you've learned something. It means you've collected data about what doesn't fit. If you've tried a path and it left you empty, that's valuable information. If you followed expectations and still felt unfulfilled, that's clarity, not defeat. Every moment of confusion is pointing you toward a deeper truth about what matters to you. Ignoring that feedback is what keeps people stuck for years. The most dangerous thing is not being lost, it's being comfortable in the wrong place. Many people never feel lost because they never question anything. They stay busy, stay distracted, and stay safe. But comfort without alignment slowly kills ambition. Feeling lost usually appears when you're brave enough to admit that the old answers aren't enough anymore. That honesty is rare and it's powerful. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" the better question is, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Is it telling you that you've outgrown a role, that you're playing too small, that you're chasing approval instead of purpose? Feedback doesn't shout, it whispers. It asks for reflection, not panic. People who win long-term don't avoid feeling lost. They use it. They pause, reassess, and then move forward with more awareness. They treat uncertainty like a compass, not a curse. Feeling lost is the moment before direction forms. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. That space is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. You don't need clarity, you need action. That idea sounds uncomfortable because people want certainty before they move. They want guarantees, perfect timing, and a clear map of the future. But life doesn't work that way. Clarity is not something you find by thinking harder, it's something you earn by doing. Most confusion exists because there is no movement. When you stand still, everything feels overwhelming. The moment you take action, things start to separate and the fog begins to lift. Action creates information. When you try something, you immediately learn. You learn what excites you, what drains you, what works, and what doesn't. Sitting around waiting for clarity keeps you trapped in your head, replaying the same doubts over and over. Movement breaks that loop. Even small actions, sending an email, starting a project, learning a skill, showing up consistently, create momentum. Momentum builds confidence, and confidence slowly turns into clarity. People overestimate how much they need to know before starting. You don't need the full plan, you need the next step. No one has the entire picture figured out at the beginning. The path reveals itself as you walk it. Trying to see 10 steps ahead is what freezes people. Taking one step forward is what opens the next door. Action doesn't require certainty, it requires courage. Mistakes are part of this process, not evidence that you're doing it wrong. Every wrong turn gives you data. Every failure refines your direction. Action is how you eliminate options that aren't meant for you. Without action, everything remains possible, which sounds good but actually creates anxiety. With action, options narrow and focus grows. That's how direction is built. Clarity is often a byproduct of repetition. Doing something consistently, even imperfectly, trains your instincts. You begin to recognize patterns. You start trusting yourself. That trust is what people mistake for clarity. It didn't come from waiting, it came from experience. The truth is, action is the cure for overthinking. It shifts your identity from someone who is trying to figure it out to someone who is building. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need permission. You need to move. Action turns confusion into progress, and progress is what creates real clarity. Comparison is the fastest way to lose yourself because it pulls your focus away from your own values and replaces them with someone else's scoreboard. The moment you measure your life using another person's timeline, success, or appearance, you stop listening to your own instincts. You begin chasing outcomes instead of building alignment. That's how people end up living lives that look good on the outside, but feel empty on the inside. Most comparison today is artificial. You're not comparing reality, you're comparing highlight reels. You see the wins, the money, the confidence, the followers, but you don't see the years of doubt, rejection, boredom, or failure behind them. Yet your brain treats that filtered image as the full story and uses it to judge your own behind the scenes reality. That creates frustration, impatience, and self-doubt, none of which help you grow. Comparison also distorts time. You start believing you're late, behind, or missing out. In truth, you're just on a different path. Progress isn't linear, and it's definitely not universal. Some people win early and burn out. Others struggle quietly and then break through later with depth and resilience. When you compare, you ignore that timing is personal. You rush decisions that aren't ready and abandon processes that were actually working. Another danger of comparison is that it shifts motivation from purpose to validation. Instead of asking, what do I want to build? You start asking, how do I look compared to them? That mindset leads to copying instead of creating. You imitate strategies that don't fit your personality, values, or strengths. Over time, you lose touch with who you actually are because you're too busy trying to be someone else. Healthy awareness is different from comparison. Learning from others can inspire you, but the moment it makes you feel smaller, anxious, or bitter, it's no longer education, it's erosion. The goal isn't to beat others, it's to become better than yesterday's version of yourself. That's a comparison that actually serves you. When you focus inward, you reclaim control. You measure progress by effort, consistency, and growth, not by external applause. You start building confidence that's rooted in self-respect instead of approval. That's when momentum becomes sustainable. Letting go of comparison isn't about ignoring the world. It's about choosing yourself over noise and trusting that your pace is exactly what it needs to be. Time is your greatest advantage, not your enemy, but only if you stop treating it like something that's running out. So many people live with a quiet panic, convinced they're behind, late, or have missed their moment. That mindset creates rushed decisions, shallow goals, and constant anxiety. When you believe time is against you, you try to shortcut the process. And shortcuts are usually what delay real success the longest. The truth is, time compounds effort. Skills compound, discipline compounds, self-awareness compounds. What you do consistently over years matters far more than what you do intensely for a few weeks. People underestimate how powerful patience can be when it's paired with action. You don't need to win immediately. You need to stay in the game long enough for growth to take effect. Feeling pressure about age or deadlines often comes from comparing timelines. Society tells you where you should be by a certain age, career, money, status, but those standards are arbitrary. They ignore context, personality, opportunity, and learning curves. Real progress doesn't follow a universal schedule. Some lessons can only be learned through time, and trying to rush them only creates frustration. When you stop fearing time, you start using it. You invest instead of gamble. You build foundations instead of chasing quick results. You focus on learning skills that will pay off for decades rather than trends that fade in months. Time becomes an ally because it allows room for experimentation, failure, and correction. Those things are not setbacks. They are essential parts of mastery. Time also gives you permission to evolve. Who you are today doesn't have to lock you into who you'll be forever. Interests change. Priorities shift. With time, you gain clarity about what truly matters to you. That perspective is something impatience can never provide. The people who create lasting impact are rarely the fastest starters, they are the most persistent. They respect the process and trust that steady effort will eventually outperform rushed ambition. When you realize you have more time than you think, pressure turns into patience, and patience turns into power. Small daily discipline creates massive direction because consistency is what turns uncertainty into structure. People often believe they need a big breakthrough, a life-changing moment, or a sudden burst of motivation to find direction. In reality, direction is built quietly through repeated actions that seem almost insignificant in the moment. Discipline is not about intensity, it's about showing up even when you don't feel inspired. When you commit to small daily habits, you remove the need to constantly decide what to do next. That's powerful. Decision fatigue disappears and momentum takes over. Reading a little every day, practicing a skill for a short time, improving one area of your work, or reflecting on your progress, these actions create rhythm. Rhythm creates stability, and stability creates confidence. Over time, that confidence becomes a sense of direction. Discipline also builds self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. That belief changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who is lost and start seeing yourself as someone who is building. Direction doesn't come from knowing exactly where you're going. It comes from trusting yourself to keep moving forward. Small actions compound in ways people don't expect. One disciplined habit leads to another. A focused routine sharpens your awareness. You begin to notice what energizes you and what drains you. That awareness helps you adjust your path without dramatic pivots or panic. Discipline gives you a feedback loop that keeps you aligned instead of scattered. Many people avoid discipline because they associate it with restriction. In reality, discipline creates freedom. When your basics are handled daily, your mind is free to think creatively and strategically. You're no longer reacting to life, you're shaping it. Direction becomes a byproduct of order. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to own your days. Small, intentional actions repeated daily will quietly pull you out of confusion and into clarity. Direction is not found in a single decision. It's built through disciplined consistency over time. If you feel lost, don't run from it, use it. That feeling is feedback, not failure. Stop waiting for clarity and start moving. Block out comparison, trust your timing, and commit to small daily discipline. Direction isn't discovered in one moment, it's built step by step. Keep going, stay patient, and remember this phase isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your strength. Thank you.